crisis that drove me to tears. We were entering our 4th year of drought, a recurring nightmare for those old enough to remember the devastating drought of 1988, the worst drought since the Dust Bowl. Now, without help from the heavens, 2015 will be the last year before my family will begin to go bankrupt. The severe drought has desolated our once beautiful community so badly that there was simply no water for our crops, and I was forced to make the difficult decision to just let our farm die. It was so bad, in fact, that a few years ago, the bureaucrats in the state capitol signed a piece of legislation that diverts all of the water from the Colorado River away from the Salton Sea. With the swipe of a pen, the government cut our town off from any fresh water. However, I thought I was prepared. Solar electricity, solar hot water, and we even had our own well. Big mistake, because little did we know that the drought was going to hit us so hard. 3 years ago, our well totally dried out. I didn't really panic because we still had a 600-gallon water stockpile that I had saved as an emergency reserve, and I knew it should last us enough until the government or the heavens would have mercy on us, or until we could dig a new well. Until, that is, the fateful night when we learned the hard way that desperation goes beyond any family ties. It happened so fast. I was asleep in bed next to my wife Susan when I heard a loud crash outside the window, and my mom suddenly frantically screaming from outside. And not knowing what was happening, I grabbed my rifle from the closet and charged right into the black night. And what I saw made me freeze in my tracks. My uncle, who was also our neighbor for as long as I can remember, was swinging a garden shovel right at my father's head. He didn't have any family feud or anything like that. He just wanted our water. "Sorry, Rich, I just need your water for my farm or they'll take my house." He was ready to rob his own brother for water. My dad fought back, but his younger brother hit him several times until he ultimately collapsed to the ground. I felt a rush of anger and rage and was ready to shoot him on the spot. Fortunately, my wife called the cops just in time and they got him arrested. My dad survived this incident with only a big scar on the back of his head, and thank God our entire family was safe and okay. But I'll never forget when my 12-year-old son Jeremy came to me that night and asked me, "Is Grandpa going to die?" I immediately burst into tears. It was the most devastating moment of my life. I felt like my world collapsed. I felt powerless because there was nothing I could do to protect the ones I cared for the most. It really made me sick of what we've become. I just couldn't believe that our own family can turn on you like that. I decided right then and there that I'd never put my family in a similar situation again. I don't want to sound preachy about it, but ask yourself, what happens if the drought continues? What are we going to turn into? Are there going to be killings over a sip of water? Humanity is already on the verge of dehumanization due to the hard times that continue to weaken all of us. Listen, the drought so far left unchangeable consequences, and there are no signs that it would get better. Water is rapidly becoming the petroleum of the 21st century, and the current water crisis has unleashed a modern gold rush. The situation has grown so dire that water scarcity is increasingly being recognized as a major threat to national security right alongside terrorism. And the more scarce water gets, more access to it becomes a competition, with winners and losers, often with governments picking. Yet, how did we get in this life-threatening situation? Don't get me wrong, there's no shortage of water. We have 326 million trillion gallons of it. Always have, always will. But 97% of it is salty, and 2% is trapped in ice at the poles. So all of humankind relies on just 1% of that water to survive. While the sources for drinking water haven't changed much over time, the population has exploded, making the amount of fresh water available increasingly scarce. But the problem isn't that just there are more people on Earth using more water, it's also how we're using our water. There's a common misconception that water is in indefinite amounts and everyone has access to it because you can turn a tap. In fact, that's the only time most of us are thinking about it, simply taking water completely for granted. But in fact, water is embedded in everything around us, hidden in the products, services, and processes people buy, use, and do every day. Your morning shower takes 17 gallons. Growing the coffee beans for your cup of Joe takes 34 gallons. And every pound of beef we eat takes a staggering 1,800 gallons of water to produce. Before midday, you indirectly guzzled thousands of gallons of water. This water, which often goes unseen and is largely neglected, is called virtual water or indirect water. What gets ignored is that virtual water is as real as the water you drink. And when we run out, we'll find out what the value of water truly is. The bad news is that moment is just around the corner. Now, I can hear your BS radar going off, and I'm sure you're already thinking, there's no way it could be true. Well, up until recently, that could have been only a theory. NASA and top universities have solid proof we are right at the beginning of the biggest drought in at least 1,200 years. A disastrous, decades-long mega drought that could make entire regions of the country nearly uninhabitable, just like it did before throughout history. A UCLA-led study published in the journal Nature Climate Change found that the U.S. hasn't seen a more devastating and severe drought since the start of the scientific record around the year 800. The last comparable, though not as severe, multi-decade mega drought happened in the medieval times of the 1500s, when the U.S. was still largely inhabited by Native American tribes. That extreme drought led to crop failures, famine, and social disruption. Cities and towns were literally abandoned. It was a demographic catastrophe with no modern comparison that culminated with the native population collapse. And here's the bad part. History has a not-so-funny way of repeating itself. Those who cannot learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Thanks to satellites launched by NASA, we can now understand more accurately and measure this developing invisible crisis, revealing how supplies are shrinking rapidly. From Florida to New York to California, fresh water supplies are running critically low. Lake Mead, the largest reservoir in the U.S., is currently at unprecedented, dangerously low levels, the lowest it has ever been since the Hoover Dam was built in the 1930s, and has been left with an ever-growing white bathtub ring over 100 feet high. Lake Powell, the second largest reservoir in the U.S., is at a historic low as well. Both Lake Mead and Lake Powell are currently filled at only about 1/3 of their total capacity and are in danger of reaching dead pool status. Dead pool is what happens when the water drops so low that the flow of water halts. It just sits there, stuck, stagnant behind the dam. If the two largest reservoirs of the southwestern U.S. hit dead pool, water wouldn't flow to the Glen Canyon and the Hoover Dam. With these dams paralyzed, the system collapses. And that's not all. There are more and more lakes and reservoirs just disappearing all around the U.S. California's largest reservoirs, Lake Shasta and Lake Oroville, are at critically low levels. Add into that mix the vanishing act that the Great Salt Lake has performed in recent years, and the U.S.'s water woes are put in stark relief. Just imagine what will happen if the drought keeps getting worse. It will be down for the count, and sadly, there'll be no water left to splash on our face to help recovery. And it's not just happening in the U.S. Water is disappearing everywhere. The entire American.
So if you're ready to upgrade your water and protect your health, Aqua Tower is a smart, effective choice. It's already helped thousands of households enjoy cleaner, safer water. Yours could be next. Backend index pointing right, click the link below to order Aqua Tower from the official site with the best available discount. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more real product reviews, and share this with anyone who needs better water at home. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.